thank you for, joining us or staying with us? Well, we've only been on air 14 minutes, so thank you for being there. Now let's get the show on the road. The conversation regarding when the Apapa, according to my partner, gridlock will come to an end continues to linger despite all effort of government. And we're talking about government at all levels. When will this come to an end is a good question. I used to live in Apapa, so I know that it was a decent area in those days.
It was highbrow.
Businesses have moved out of there, even people who live there. This has given them a reason to go find accommodation in other places. To get to Apapa, man, you will spend, what, how many hours on the road? Between Ijora and Apapa proper, Apapa GRA, you could be there for 3, 4, 5 hours.
And that's just talking about one of the routes. And we're not even talking we're not talking about the adjacent connections, residential areas. That's not as highbrow as the old Apapa, that we had at the time. So
there was even a presidential task force to look at this and clear all those trucks off the road. But, well, here we are. They are still on the road. There's still congestion in that part of town. But, hey, what do I know? Professor Samuel Odewume, who is Professor of Transportation, is with us this morning to tell us more about it and maybe help us proffer some solutions.
Thank you.
Good morning, Professor. We also have Mr. Adeleye Adegoke, who is an exporter and a fleet owner. Fleet of trucks. Oh, so you are the ones giving us the head.
Exactly. That's why we.
They are the ones.
That's why we need to discuss it and know that we are not the one.
Oh, okay.
Exactly, because we are here there to do business.
okay.
So if the wherewithal is not provided, how do we do our business successfully?
Wherewithal in what sense?
In terms of capacity, in terms of efficiency.
Capacity, efficiency,
of the terminal operators, of the shipping companies.
Okay, now from your experience,
Exactly, sir.
What is responsible for the gridlocks?
I just said it. The terminal operators, they're inefficient and they don't have the capacity to handle the volume of business they're handling, number one.
Okay.
The ship owners, the shipping companies, and the ship owners, let me say, ship owners, there is a policy by MPA that you must put your empties in the holding bay. Now, how many of those shipping lines do have a functional shipping holding bay? And even when they have, how much do they charge to drop an empty? It's supposed to be free. But rather you see a station whereby, people see drop empties in the terminals, occupying space. There is the issue of also overtime cargoes in the terminal also. It's garbage in, garbage out.
Okay, we'll come back to you, but Prof, do you see any effort of government in the nearest future putting a seal on this gridlock?
Well, when we are ready, for now it is one step forward, 2 steps backward, 1 step sideways, walking like a drunkard.
There's even sideways there.
There's sideways. And it's very tragic. It may sometimes look funny, but it's tragic that Nigeria, with all the brain that we got in logistics and planning, cannot solve a simple logistic problem. But as you mentioned, critical is a lack of capacity inside the port itself by the concessionaire. You see, because the level of movement will determine on the turnover, the throughput inside the port.
Exactly.
Next to that is the issue of this new call-up system and holding base.
And Prof,
yes,
just before you go on, the first point you made.
Yeah.
NPA is the one that runs the ports.
Through the concessionaires.
So are you therefore saying that MPA is not aware that the concessionaire is inefficient so that they can either change the concessionaire or whatever?
They are aware. They are aware of capacity. You see, for instance, if you need to handle 100 and you are doing 30, definitely there is a problem of capacity.
Interesting.
Look at what was done the other day. It's like cutting the head to solve headache problem.
Okay,
you stop all people exports
for 2 weeks.
For 2 weeks.
Prof, just put a comma there. We need to go on a short break and we'll come back and continue this discussion.
About to embark on its maiden major export voyage, transporting 7,000 metric tons of cocoa, the commercially valued commodities loaded onto the ship at the Calabar port, setting off a landmark economic activity for the people of the state. With concerns over port congestion in Lagos, the once abandoned Calabar port is coming alive again as a necessary alternative for freight services to promote Nigeria's export aspirations, and the Cross River State government believes with further dredging, larger vessels can berth.
There's going to be a lot of activities. Nigeria has signed the agreement, the AFTA agreement, African trade, continental trade. So we are actually in the center of economic growth. And then with the governor that we have that has industrialization as his key word, as his key project, as his vision, you cannot talk about industrialization without mentioning maritime business, maritime enterprise. God has blessed us with these old ports. So we have all it takes, not just for Cross Riverians, but for Nigeria as a whole.
According to stakeholders at this event, the instability of oil prices further strengthens the call for economic diversification, and cocoa plays a vital role as a major revenue earner.
This is the first time that a dedicated cargo is being exported out of any port outside Apapa port for cocoa. Now, in terms of revenue generation, it's not only cocoa, but any export of Nigerian produce is very key now, especially given the pressures that are on oil revenues today. We need to have, we keep thinking diversification. This is all part of diversification. What it means is that we must find other revenue sources outside oil into the country.
Organizers of the event who chartered the vessels say they want to prove that Calabar Port is capable of carrying larger vessels if attention is paid to the potentials it holds.
We are problem solvers. When there are problems, we look for solutions. And looking for solutions can take us anywhere. We believe we need to solve the problem, the perennial problem of port trouble in Lagos. We can look for solutions, and that's why we did not look at the cost. We brought in a charter vessel to Calabar. They said it is not possible. We said it is possible. It has never happened before. This is the first time, and we are ready to do more. It is very possible. Calabar is viable. It should be used. It should be expanded. They should do a lot of things to make this place work. It's the only solution to the perennial problem of port congestion in Nigeria.
The turnaround time in Calabar is much shorter. You stay days, you stay months, you stay weeks in Lagos before you can discharge. But as you can see, there are fewer vessels here. So the discharge is almost immediately. The only challenge which we have in Calabar Port is the draft of the channel. At low tide, you heard it's about 5.2. That makes it not possible to accommodate larger vessels. But in terms of every other facility, the Calabar Port is equal to the challenge.
With the maiden major export of cocoa from the Calabar seaport crossed on the checklist, it is expected that freight forwarders, exporters and others patronize the port to free up other ports across the country.
Welcome back, and thank you for staying with us. Prof, you were saying something, and I had accosted you about, what was it again?
About the concessionaire at the port, that when you are talking about what is the number one problem, it is the amount of time that you can do a turnaround inside the port. That is one. Number two is that the holding bays that are located 34 now, isn't it? You see, you don't need to.
They're all around the port area.
And we are around the port, I mean, close to Lagos, I mean, to the port, but in Lagos.
Okay.
Now, my own take, and that is the suggestion now, is that they don't need to be there. If you are, for example, a vehicle that you don't need to get to the port in the next 7 days need not be in Lagos. Right from Ibadan, from Ijebu, the all axes that entered Lagos, let them have a first primary holding bay there to keep them there.
Prof, what about Ogiri? What is happening in Ogiri now?
No, thank God. I mean, sanity was because in January, there was a presidential order. For the first time, it worked. And that is why I said, if people are interested in strike, the solution is not rocket science, as we normally say. The FRC, stakeholders, they all went there together. They all agreed. Because Ogiri became a madhouse. I was held there for more than 8 hours in December last year. 8 hours. And we had to go through a forest of 1,000 demons. Honestly, when the demon said, this is even the governor's house in the Jebu, I mean, in that, in Remo, in Peru, and also. But when they met, I even sent a congratulatory note to Boboye, because by this March, the place was clean. You won't spend 5 minutes passing through that place, because they've turned them into any of these major parks. They created parks inside Ogiri, and they cleared off the road. The same thing. You may not need everybody to force. For example, now, all the shipping lines, they are creating their holding bays in different areas, creating on Badagry Express Road now. They are clogging up the place, doing their double parking, and because maybe all rain is an holding bay that was allocated to as a shipping line to collect those empty containers. So the first thing is that turnaround at the port. Secondly, the holding bays, don't allow them to enter. We must empower. There must be capacity. They must double the capacity at the port. Then there must be a coordinating authority. An MPA ought to do that, ought to be doing that as GEO, as we said, to look at, okay, this thing is not working, because it's a system.
Well, when we asked the MPA,
yes.
My apologies, Prof, when we asked the MPA MD, look, how come, this thing is so disjointed and all? The MD said, she doesn't have authority over certain agencies of government, like the Customs Service, for instance. They don't have authority over them. So for that reason, how would the MPA be able to control what they don't have authority over?
And she will just look at that problem. Somebody is coming to your house and messing up the place, and you just sit down and you complain, and that is all.
You must do something.
That is it. Something must be done. She's not a small fry in this country. She has a direct access to all the power centers. She could talk to people. Look, let whoever is the head of custom in that place have a direct discussion with her. There must be a line that, look, if you cannot talk, whatever is slowing you down, let us know. We are the landlord here.
Mr. Adegoke, the call-up system was introduced a short while ago. And shortly after it was introduced, we had people from your industry in here who said things were improving. So what went wrong again?
Thank you. What went wrong is what Prof has just said. Throughput, capacity of the terminal operators. Because if you cannot process,
you are called up.
You are called
up.
You still don't get the service to be done at the right time. To enter the port, you are called up officially, legally. So people queue is FIFO, first in, first out. If the first truck is still there for 1 hour more, others will pile up, and it extends back to the road. So until the inside the terminals is
made efficient.
Efficient.
So that if they're calling up 100 trucks,
You know they are
serviced
serviced
100
on
trucks.
time. Exactly. Not that they just call up and they cannot really process the containers.
Okay,
and the
well,
trucks.
Mr. Kaudi Okwefa has since joined this conversation. He's the former Executive Vice Chairman of the Presidential Task Force on Restoration of Law and Order at the port. Thanks for joining us this morning, Mr. Okwefa. He joins us from Osun State. Well, so far, how far?
I don't understand you. Good morning.
Good morning. But because, you know, one of the things that we talked about is this e-call-up system and all the work that you did.
Watch this PhD for you.
Well, now that he's listening to you, I'm pretty sure he'll do the needful.
Comrade Doctor.
So the challenge that we're looking at this morning is the gridlock has returned, so to speak.
Okay, let me start by saying I don't see any challenge in life. I see opportunities. And for Apapa, whatever is regarded as a challenge is an opportunity for all of us to reassess ourselves. Now, like I used to say, and I'm saying it again today, there is no gridlock in Apapa. What is happening in Apapa is a refusal of each and everybody that has the responsibility to do the needful, or the inability of those who are supposed to do the needful not doing it. I have been privileged to attend many meetings at federal levels and solutions. The problems are known. Whatever you call challenges are known. And the solutions have been prescribed. What is next is the implementation. Now, if you now have everything and you don't do it the right way, you have problems. Take it to the port. Legally, like the other man said, and they could not enter the port. That tells you the problem is from inside the port. So you go into the port. What is the problem in the port? The problem is too many containers, too many goods are lying inside the port. The port is about a space, and the space is no longer efficient for operations. So there are terminal operators. The government was running it before 2006. It was concession to private sector to bring in efficiency. It's like the efficiency is not good enough. So somebody must take responsibility to get that efficiency to a high point. Now we now know our efficiency. Don't call more trucks than your efficiency can handle. That was what we were doing. If the terminal operators are not going to take trucks, we don't allow trucks to come close to the port. Keep the trucks in their holding bays. Now, who controls the holding bay? The shipping lines. We also know that there is a problem with shipping lines in managing holding bay. Let the government agency that is to regulate them do the needful. Give them penalties if there are. If there are no penalties, give them termination clauses. Get them to be efficient. So I don't think, and then when we talk of gridlock, we also need to be thankful. We used to have trucks up to Maryland, up to Osun, and I don't think that's the situation now. Now, we also need to be mindful of this. When the media escalates issues beyond that, you also have problems. For example, I read in a newspaper just 3 days ago that it costs 1.5 billion to move goods out of Apapa. That's not correct. It's just about 350,000 naira. Maximum 400 from Tinkan. From Apapa, it's about 300, 270. So when the media also escalates and exaggerates, they cause speculations, and more people will be struggling to evade the law. Then finally, the issue of enforcement. Everybody who has a regulatory authority should enforce the law. The last mile should enforce the traffic rules on the road. If a truck is not supposed to be on the road, regardless of whatever is his problem, don't allow him on the road. Get him out. Use minimum force or acceptable force. Get him out of the road. If a terminal operator is not working well, let MPA, Shippers Council, or whoever has authority to get them to work. So I will not give credit to the Office of Vice President. They have analyzed all these issues. They have told all the agencies what to do. And I have a document that was given to government on this issue on October 7th. It said 19 things.
If you can hear me. Yeah, just one moment, Mr. Okwefa. Now, you've talked about efficiency and the fact that there are a number of agencies that are working, at the ports. Perhaps the challenge, as Professor mentioned, Professor Adeomi mentioned a little while ago, one of the challenges could be that there is no central coordinating authority. Because, for instance, the NPA MD has said that because she doesn't have the Customs Service don't have a reporting line to her, and so consequently it's difficult for her to say, you know, do this or do that. They are doing their statutory jobs and all of that. So perhaps one of the challenges there is that there is no central coordinating authority. According to reports that we've heard previously, there are about 34 different bodies, you know, that are working within the port, private and public. So if there is no, you know, central coordinating authority to whom all must respond, then there is a challenge, don't you think?
And anyway, Mr. Kwaifa, do we need 34 agencies at the port? Oh dear.
Well, actually, the 34 bodies are, you know, his organization and several private sector, you know, all bodies working, associations,
I'm sure
unions,
we don't need so many.
and so on.
I'm sure we don't need so many.
Okay, so that's a challenge, you know, that you have seen right there, Mr. Adegoke, and one wonders. Maybe everyone is so much interested in making money that we do not see a common vision of contributing to the economy.
Well, the vision to the economy, we say, is lacking to the Nigerian economy. You know why I say so? It's because, one, prioritization, we need to prioritize what is good for Nigeria as a country and what is not good. Prof said something earlier, holding base, empties. Why allow more empties into the port than export? That will give us for FX, that will give us more revenue, that will give the government more revenue. But you see empties moving in, day out, in large numbers. So if the empties have gone into the port, where would the export stay? Empty refrigerated containers will be allowed on a fast track. Empty, please mark my word, empty. Exports that are perishables are being told to wait. Are being kept for 2 weeks. No, let's look at, is that a common goal to develop Nigeria?
No wonder some of our exports are rejected.
Are rejected all over the world.
Their destination.
Because you stay 1 month before you even get to the port. How long does it take the shipment to get to final destination? So if there is a common goal for the economy, then we need to put our processes in order.
Okay, well, Prof.
Yeah.
Mr. Kwaifa said something which I was going to take him up on, but we don't have him back online yet.
I understand he's back. You can take him up.
Oh, okay. Mr. Kwaifa, you said there are more, they call up more, the port concessionaire calls up more people than he can deal with in a day. From your experience, and maybe you even wrote it in your report at the end of your work, you know, regarding the Apapa Gridlock, how many containers do you think that the concessionaire can deal with per day? And did you advise that only that number be allowed in per day?
Okay, I will answer that, but let me quickly answer the previous question also. There's nothing wrong with statutory agencies. That's the way the port is structured all over the world. What you have is a single window. What they do in every port is to have a single window operating system where everybody reconciles issues electronically at the same time. Now, we are not fully electronic. That's the problem. And I'm aware that the government is planning to get that done. It was the day of March 2021. We are already in March 2021. We need to quicken that up so that everybody sees it at the same time. Now, on the issue of central authority, no. What you need is that single window, and everybody will operate from that window, make your booking, make your annual it, and the electronic system is screwing up everybody, and that solution is available. Central Bank is using it. I believe NNPC has acquired one, Petroleum Sector has acquired one, and I'm aware the Nigerian port system, the maritime sector, has also concluded to have one up this year. That will handle that issue. Then on the issue of calling trucks, the call-up should start from the terminal operator who needs it. And they should be truthful. I believe they are not truthful. They are giving the wrong information to the ATO application manager. And once they give the ATO application manager wrong information, everything will just mess up. And that's the situation where people will claim that they have authority to come and the terminal is not receiving them. This is not new. We had the same problem when we are there. And when we refused to allow them to, they went to the media to blackmail us that we are refusing trucks at the court. Who will allow you to go? So ATO managers too have to quickly react to that by making sure they allow the call-up to originate from the terminal operator. If they are not doing that now, I believe it should be. If they are not doing that, the call-up should originate from the terminal operator. It signals that he wants to take 10 trucks. And it should not, all trucks should not be called at the same time because of efficiency issue at the port. I also understand that even trains, the trains cannot get trucks into the port. It's not the road. That's why I keep saying there's no Gridlock. There's something else. The trains too cannot get trucks into the port. Go and do your investigation. The waterways too cannot get trucks into the port. So there is a problem from inside the port and we need to address it. And nobody should hide the issue. Let us all be open and take responsibility as it is. That's my own take. I have experienced it before and I know what I'm talking about.
Mr. Okwefa, I want to confirm something that I heard you say. So on the one hand, we have authorities operating at various levels within the ports, which do not report one to the other. And one way or another, just as you have said, there are problems within the ports, occasioned by operations of various agencies that do not have a central reporting authority. That is part of the problems that you have enumerated. Why is it difficult for us to come up with one agency that coordinates all?
No, let's get it on. There are three major agencies of federal government in the port. The MPA and the custom mainly. The third one does not operate directly from the port. That's the Chiefers Council. They have different responsibilities. Don't forget, the port is like the airport. It's a security border post, the port. So just like at the airport, you have customs, you have DLEA, you have FAN, you have NCA, you have all those agencies at the airport. The same thing at the port. So they work, everybody does his own job. Now, the custom is about to automate its operations. Now, there is also a port manager appointed by representing MPA. That port manager coordinates everybody. So it is not completely correct to say that there is no central thing. And they do different things. Then there is the operators of the port. Those are the terminal operators. Now, in the case of Lagos Port, Apapa Port, and Tinkan Port, it is a multi-operator port. It is not a union operator. If it is one operator, it's easy. The problems people are talking about, go and investigate, is more of one terminal. GDNL is not having issues. ENL, who doesn't deal in container, doesn't have this kind of issues. Ecosystem doesn't have this kind of issues. That is at the level of a port. At Tinkan, PTML is running perfectly, Grimaldi perfectly. The ones that are having issues are the container terminals. That is Port and Cargo, TICT, and APMT. For Apapa, it is APMT. For Tinkan, it is TICT, Port and Cargo, and Port and Cargo. So those are the areas. Then you now come to the issue of container. So if you don't solve the problem of container, again, which a document was produced when we were there, we knew we need to do a document before we went there. And the document was done as at June 2019. They need to implement that document. Empty container handling policy. Who needs to implement it? It is MPA, supported by customs, shipping lines, and the Shippers Council. So it is not as if there is no center. There are things that are authoritative to each agency. So let everybody do day. Now, coordinating is the Ministry of Transport. So there is a Ministry of Transportation there, coordinating everybody. There are all agencies under transport, except customs. That is there. The police command in the port is under the authority of the MPA. An MPA has appointed a port manager and a traffic manager who oversees all these issues we are talking about. So I think that is that. However, with technology, you know how what you call the single window. With the single window, I can sit in my house, make my booking through the terminal operator to come and drop my container or pick my consignment. It gives me an appointment. Before it gives me an appointment, it's going to make sure customs has cleared me, all the other agencies has cleared me. Then it gives me an appointment to come. Then when it gives me an appointment to come, it's not in control of the electronic system. Somebody else is controlling that. So the thing is well done. So I think we are making progress. What we need to do with the issue of gridlock or congestion, I don't see gridlock. I just see mismanagement of resources, mismanagement of authority, mismanagement of capacity, media mismanagement as well. Media mismanagement as well. Misinformation. I also see greed. I also see corruption. All this. So once you can get everybody to sit on the same page, nobody should pass buck. Let everybody work. If there is a problem with an agency, let's work together to make that agency more efficient. If there is an agency that is not efficient, I mean one of the operators is not efficient, let's make it to be efficient. If it's not efficient, you invoke your penalty clause or your termination clause and get the. An MP has done this many times. People's Council has done this many times. So those are the areas we need to get to.
Mr. Kwaifa, from what you have said and what from the people who are involved have said, it looks like the one of the main problems is the port operator. So if that be the case, and you have mentioned termination clause and all that, does he not have a termination clause? We understand he's been read the Riot Act since April last year, but he's still there mismanaging this particular thing we're talking about.
Now, let me also say this. Even when they are not, even if any terminal operator is not efficient, even if any of the system is not efficient, that thing do not get to gridlock. We managed this thing for 4 months. There were no trucks on the road until there was a struggle from within to make sure the thing is not perfect. So it is possible, even when any operator is not doing well, or custom have issues, or there is a accident on the road, that should not translate to gridlock. What we are calling gridlock now, let me put it that way, is we are calling the inefficiency of some people gridlock. We are calling the inefficiency of our system gridlock. So we also need to understand that even on the water, those that have brought containers or who wants to move from the waters are having challenges. Those who are moving by the train, if you want to move by the train now, the train people will tell you, make sure there is a consignment to take out. So why should they be considering that? I want to drop my consignment. There should be a system that allows, a logistics system that allows somebody who wants to take out. That the issue has to do with the entire port. So it's not, I don't know how else to describe it. I don't know how else. If you want that thing to leave, if there is any congestion or you want it to leave tomorrow, to leave. That's why I keep saying the traffic management authority of the state should do the needful. Get those trucks off the road. If they're off the road, let them go and complain to the person who asked them to come that you are taking them off the road because they are not. And Lagos State government is doing that. So they should do more of that. And then the government at the center, the Ministry of Transport and the federal government should call everybody to sit and tell everybody, get to your efficiency level. I believe there shouldn't be any issue.
Mr. Kwaifa, how difficult is it to discipline the concessionaire who seems to be the cause of all this?
I'm not government. I don't work for government. I'm an individual.
You were on the presidential task force.
No, I'm not a lawyer. I can't say that. I think those issues should be asked. I just want to stay away from that issue. I'm very sorry. There are contracts and there are MOUs. Whatever it says is what should be done. But I'm not a lawyer.
When you say that the some people are being dodgy, they're dodging their responsibilities or shifting their responsibilities. Which people are you talking about?
No, I'm not talking of any particular. I don't think I ever said that. But what I'm saying is that every agency of government in the port has a responsibility and an authority. Every operator has a responsibility and authority. There are rules of engagement, and there is a Ministry of Transport. So, and everybody is under the same federal government. There are operators, there are transporters, there are truckers. Which also, so everybody should do what he needs to do. Sorry, I keep saying this thing. We were there for like 15 or 16 months. This thing was not there after 2015. It came when the traffic management system was compromised by the killing of a last man staff. And within the next 2-3 years, things went out of control. So we have brought it to control many times. So if there are issues, we left a system. I'm not bragging on this. The presidential party left a system that can correct any delay within 2 to 6 hours. So let them evoke that system. We will control it within 2 to 6 hours.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Akwefa. Now, Professor, we need to wind down now. So, even though Mr. Akwefa is saying there's no gridlock, we know that there are trucks on the road. So, I mean, what should we be looking at now so that we can get a permanent solution to this?
Now, I will just fly over the solutions. We have identified the first one, the operations inside the port itself. But at the base, he mentioned something, law enforcement has to be primed up. Because whatever law you made, whatever regulation you put in place has to be enforced. Then I mentioned the good issue of holding bays. Look, they don't need to put those holding bays inside Lagos. Put them in Ijebu-Ode Road. Put them along Ibadan Road. Let them have, as we have churches along Ibadan, Lagos Road now, let us have holding bays, Dangote, Adenuga, and so on, so that the vehicles that will be coming inside will be those that are already cleared to be handled tomorrow. So, I mean, then we have mentioned the question of that, the person that will hand over the turnaround inside the port. Then, of course, we have to look at the corruption there's now a cartel that is working hard not to make that thing work. Then there must be constant stakeholder, regular, maybe monthly. Because whatever thing you put in place, there will be some glitches. They must address it, and Lagos should now show more political will. The governor was spitting fire about 2 weeks ago that they will name and shame. Let them name and shame. Not only name and shame, if people are guilty, prosecute.
Exactly.
Then media too, as he mentioned, media must be fed the correct information all the time.
Okay. Mr. Adegoke, you're
then the other one, the water batching of along the water line should be strengthened, so that we don't need to take all those containers on empty, because empty container issue is almost 50% of the problem now.
Oh, okay.
Exactly.
Mr. Adegoke.
Yes. Okay, as I've said, there must be balance of trade actually, but at the same time, Nigeria is in a situation where we need more revenue. We need more effects to come into the country.
Okay.
Why not, sorry ma'am, why do we give priority to empties that are not adding value now, but because of the fact that it's cheaper to book an empty container, an export container rather, whereas to take those containers outside the country and bring in import. Okay. As Prof said, the holding bays have been turned into a bonded warehouse also. So the two cannot work together. Okay. Because why?
Mr. Akwefa, your final word, please.
Nobody has said everything, and all I will add is that we can do better.
Okay.
You should wash your
we can do better. Dr. Kayode Akwefa, former Executive Vice Chairman, Presidential Task Force Team on Restoration of Law and Order in Apapa. And then we also had Professor Samuel Odenwumi and Mr. Adeleye Adegoke, an exporter and fleet owner. Thank you all, gentlemen, for coming to share your insights with us.
Thank you so much.
Very interesting segment.
And thank you, Channel, for staying on the problem. It's a major national issue, and you are staying on it. One day, the seed will drop in one fertile land that it will germinate.
And apart from these shows,
Sunrise will return in just a moment with another interesting conversation. Thank you for staying with us.